record it now, but and I've talked to 3 different lawyers just to confirm that really the only time you can get in trouble legally would be if we were defaming their character. So here's Chelsey Rose. She's a fucking idiot. She's a dumb bitch. And like, I'd go off and like attack you because of your program. So as long as we look at like a tone up girl, and if we were to use their name, as long as we do it in a way of saying, okay, so here's a program that we have, and there's the tone up girls, they're from Manhattan Beach. So here's what their program is. Now, a lot of times when you look at this, here's what we want to be looking at. Are we starting with a multi-jointed exercise? Where's the overload? Are we optimizing with tension? And you can see in this first exercise, you can typically tell someone doesn't have a background in movement when they do 40 lunges first. It's like that approach isn't like attacking them, it's just educating. But if there is going to be like a fine line, like for the one that we're going to look at here, I just took away her stuff. And so you can't see anything about who this person is. I'm not going to reference who she is. I think this is downloading. There we go. Might take a couple seconds, but this will just be a good little exercise to show and highlight for our clients, because our industry is getting even worse, where this is a program for a beginner who this individual has over 70,000 followers. She sells this for $50. Now, let's say that she has really terrible client penetration and she has 1% of her clients buy her guide. So if we take 1%, I mean, I even like to go even more. So let's say half of them are bought. So she has 35,000 bots, and there's actually 35,000 people that truly follow her. Only 1% buy her program. That's 350 people. When you times that by 50, that's $17,500 that she'll make from this program. And if you have 350 people and another 1%, which will be 3 people, follow it to a T, and they're younger and they have the time and they're just mentally tough, they're going to get amazing results. And so then what she would do is take those 3 people and I'll put them out there on the web saying, look what happens with my program. But what about the 347 people who got hurt or tried to do it and it was just inappropriate and they got in, there's so many things that can happen. So like when we look at a program, so this is day 1, day 2, and day 3. So these are the 3 workouts that you're going to be doing. And you actually do 6 of them. So let's take a look at day 1. We're going to do a single leg lateral lunge, 3 sets of 20. So 10 each leg. And then you're going to do a kettlebell goblet squat, 15 to 20 pounds, 3 sets of 10. Wide stance leg press, 3 sets of 10. Sumo squats with a band, 3 sets of 10. So how she sets this up is you do 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. You rest for 2 minutes and you do it for 3 rounds. And then after that, you go to your fire hydrant, your deadlift, your dumbbell lunges, and then jack squats, resistance bands, 10 seconds. And you do that for, so some of this I'm just confused on that. I don't know why the fuck she has 3 down here. Seems like that's kind of, maybe she just screwed up because it should be 4, or I don't know what she's doing here. Maybe she's doing like a little cardio thing at the end, but the way that she color coded it, she said that do the pink first in that circuit and then do the blue in that circuit. So look at this, and what are your thoughts going through your mind, Chelsey?
So, gosh, a lot. So basically I start with the first exercise and I'm looking at, and she just gives the exercise name, obviously the single leg lateral lunge, and tells you to go for 10 on each side and then not to rest at all. I'm thinking if you're only doing 10 reps of something that you're going to have a pretty moderate weight. And so I'm thinking that she just wants us to pick our weight, but then you go into the second exercise and she's listing the weight. And then as you can see at the bottom, she's listing actually even heavier weights. So not only does she not actually want you to use any weight for exercise 1 and only do 10 reps, but she has the weights getting heavier throughout the workout, which from what I've learned is not how you want to do it, because you want to be able to give the most force into your initial exercises. and be able to basically lift as much as you can in the beginning and not tire yourself out, you know, in the beginning of a workout with body weight exercises before you even get to your weighted exercises. So to go through 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 sets of lower body before she even wants you to pick up a 40-pound dumbbell is what I think I noticed first.
That's pretty, I mean, that's very nice how you said that too. You're very, I just see it as that's the, immediately I just know that this person doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about, because it would be like, I want to get stronger on my bench press. I want to improve my chest. So let's put it into a bro workout, because this is the bra workout right now. This is geared towards girls. And it's always funny. Girls will have a lot of supersets, a lot of fucking bands, and a ton of repetitions, and we're running around with our heads cut off. And then that's one of the harder sells, is you can attest to. You have a client that comes in and you actually do it right, and they're like, no, I need to be moving. And you're like, no, chill the fuck out. You don't need to be. Rest. It's good for you. So it'd be like me doing 10 push-ups right before I do a bench press with a load that I'm trying to do decent amount of times. And then I would be doing more push-ups and then more push-ups. And then I rest for 2 minutes. So where's the progressive overload? You're not you're not allowing for it. You're literally, and this is what's frustrating, where I try to be nice, but when people give me these programs, I try my hardest to be nice. But then after a while, my fuse will just break. And it's like, it's just literally, it's shit on a wall. And you're trying to tell me what era it came from. No, it's literally shit. Like there's no science or anything behind this. It's just fucking exercises. That's all it is.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was talking to my clients about with another program that was similar to this. It's like as if you just had a bucket of exercises, and I see this is what I think of, and you put your hand in the bucket and you threw them on the ground, and then you just decided that's what we're doing today. And there's actually no rhyme or reason to any of it. And it's just unfortunate, because there's so many girls that will do exercises like this. And like you said earlier, like there will be some that will get some results, you know, like if they go from doing nothing to doing something, that's going to be a progression for them. But for a lot of girls that are trying to jump from program to program and they're wondering why they're not seeing results, it's like, this is why. And then the second thing I really noticed, obviously, I think you brought this up too, was just how this is supposed to be for a beginner. And I think you said that there's 6 days a week that they're exercising, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's a 6-day program. They have no rest in between the first 3 exercises. And then even on that, we'll see what it's like on this second page, but on that first page, it's like the muscles that she has in mind of the client working just make no sense. Why are you going to spend all of day 4 doing glutes and then just your calves, and then all day of day 5 doing just your hamstrings and your core? Like, it's just such an inefficient way to exercise.
And so
it's broken out like just
yeah, you're right. I always try to play the devil's advocate, and people will say is you're being negative. She's trying to encourage people to exercise. And so then I need to put on my like police hat and say, okay, let's put that in medicine. What if there was a doctor who was drunk, but he had a good intent on doing surgery? Are we going to sweep that under the table because he was trying to help him? No, in fitness, it's fine. It's like, oh, I want to help people. I'm passionate because I lost 100 pounds and I did it by doing this stupid fucking workout. So I'm going to have everyone do it. And by the way, you need to eat cucumbers and this detox tea for the rest of your life because it worked for me. And it's unfortunate because there literally is no rhyme or reason to it. And the frustrating thing really is that when you look at the science behind programming and movements, it's almost the antithesis. So right here, we're starting with a single jointed exercise first, calf raises, which is fucking stupid. And then we're doing box jumps, which are fine to do, but her clientele, it's more for fat loss. So when you do jumps for fat loss, that's just idiotic. And then you go back to calf raises. Like, do we have a fucking calf fetish or what? I don't have a lot of girls that come to me and say, I really want to perfect my calves. Do you?
No, never.
And then we do kickbacks, which these are all very isolated movements, minus the box jumps, which is inappropriate. So you're fatiguing out your muscles. And then this is the one that I think is beautiful, where you do cardio, and then you do hip thrusts, and then jump squats, which is just even more idiotic. But then we're going to end off on a barbell back squat. So when you look at something that's like
I didn't
completely
even
ass
see the ending
backwards,
squat until now.
yeah. And so then
Sorry,
that's
I'm
day,
saying I didn't even realize.
and then you have day 5, which is like you're saying, it's just, I really liked your example that you used with a bunch of exercises. And it's like a kid at an ice cream. So you're just choosing. There's no rhyme or reason. You're just choosing. And then you have your hit one where we have burpees with high knees, straight arm planks, jumping jacks, sumo squat, leg raises, push back push-ups, in and out squat jumps, bicycle crunch. Now, in my opinion, ironically, I think this one would probably be like the best because it's like cardio based. Burpees are fine. People lose their shit over them, and it's like they're fun to make fun of. But it's like you're actually doing a cardio base into an upper body, into cardio, into another. Sorry, you're doing like this. I'll call that cardio, and then legs, and then push, and then a little more legs, and then it's like there's a little more rhyme to reason with this one. It still sucks, absolutely sucks. But like think of the rest of the program as like a 10%, like a 10 out of 100. This is like a 45 out of 100. It's still fucking terrible, but it's significantly better than the other stuff. And I mean, I love these programs because I wish more trainers could see them so then they understand what their competition is like. Because this girl who's producing this has absolutely no fucking idea what she's talking about. And I really honestly believe there should be accountability where, there should be an authority within the fitness industry where, I can, you and I are the authorities. We look at this and we say, is there an ounce of scientific thought behind this? And there isn't. So you're going to find, and how many of these have you sold? Okay, well, you got to refund all that money and you're going to get a huge bill, citation. And there needs to be accountability because then what trainers wouldn't do is take the easy way out. And that's what I see a lot of from a teacher perspective. It pisses me off is that now what we have, you get your cert, your weekend cert that you get. And then what you do is I want to become an online coach. So you never train anyone and you isolate yourself in you even more. And so no one gets to see your program. At least if you go to like an Equinox, I can look at you, other trainers can look at you, and there's a little bit of accountability. Like that's a fucking dumb exercise. Someone may call you out. But with online, no one's ever going to see it unless we share it like this. It's crazy.
Yeah. Totally. So I think what is important for, people who have programs like this and who are still maybe like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but I don't understand why those are necessarily bad things, would be to go over like, what are some of the things that you should be looking at and why when it comes to your programming? And so I think you mentioned this earlier, but one of the biggest things you want to look for in programming is just making sure that the first exercises should be your multi-joint exercise, meaning that we're using more than one joint at a time. So like your bench press, your squats, things like that, not a bicep curl where you're just bending at one joint, which would be the elbow. And the purpose of that is essentially that you're using more muscles in the multi-joint exercise, which goes back to us saying that we don't want to fatigue out before we go into those bigger exercises. So it makes more sense to do those first and you have more power, right?
Absolutely. I would have made that a long-winded answer. You did even better than I would. And I think that's great. And just to piggyback that you will get some exceptions to the rule. I've looked at some, and you and I were even talking about it. It was, I think, Renaissance periodization. Dr. Israel, their team, full range of motion, they're super knowledgeable, but they're in the bodybuilding community. And so the bodybuilding community is a little more unique, and there may be some efficacy of doing single-legged stuff for pre-exhaustion purposes. So what I mean by that is if I'm doing a squat and I really want to target more of my quads, I could do some hamstring work to fatigue my hamstrings. So then when I do the squat, my quads have to work a little harder. There's intent behind that. And you can look at a program to see if that's the purpose. But like for this, that's not the purpose. And so when you do a leg extension, you're fatiguing out your quads. And then when you do a walking lunge, that's more quad dominant. So you're fatiguing out single joint in order to do a inferior multi-jointed walking lunge exercise. So what we mean by that is if you were just to flip-flop these and do the lunge first, if you do 25 pounds for 20 reps, you could probably be doing 35 pounds. So when you do 35 pounds, you're going to create more damage. You're going to have a better hormonal response. You're getting more bang for your buck. So think of this as, this is going to be harder. And that's a big thing that we unfortunately focus on. So let's put that into my drinking analogies. Is it easier or harder to drive from San Diego to Los Angeles after drinking or before drinking a bottle of whiskey? Not a shot, a bottle. Significantly harder, right? Does that mean that that's what we should do? Why do we take that approach with fitness? I don't know, Chelsey, you tell me. You work a lot with ladies and you see it a ton. And the great thing about you, and that's where you're humble and you're smart, is you used to do some of that to a certain extent, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I did all the same stuff that everyone else does, before I learned. Because when I was going through all those things and like when I was like clueless about fitness, even when I thought I knew what I was doing, I had no idea that like order of exercise mattered, or that reps listed in a program, if it's a smart program, are not just listed because they picked a number out of a hat. It's listed because that is supposed to elicit a certain response, and it's supposed to get you to use a specific amount of weight. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that rest mattered. I think that actually rest was just out the window altogether. Like the more rest, the worse. And so, yeah, like when I started going to the internship, I was doing Orange Theory a lot. And I just remember being exhausted, like to the point I felt sick after every single class. And then you got to start to asking yourself, like, if I'm so exhausted after my workout that I end up not moving for the rest of the day, is that really even worth it? And at the time I thought it was, because I got in my workout, but then you learn about non-exercise activity thermogenesis and how like you actually can burn more calories just by moving more throughout the day. So actually, if that one workout does make you not want to work or move for the rest of the day, then it's actually probably not even worth it to begin with. But yeah, I mean, I just didn't know, like, I didn't know I didn't think about reps I was doing because I'm in a class. I didn't think about how many sets I was doing of a particular exercise, let alone volume throughout the week. So yeah, I definitely understand why so many people think that way, because I did, but after learning about it, it just makes me more excited to like teach other people kind of what to look for and also understand why it's important.
As we do more of these week to week, I'll start creating like a list, and these will be double C. We got M&Ms, we got double C, and Chelsey and Chris, our little tenets for things to look for when you do get a program. And so far, the main thing, the main thing we talked about today was starting with a multi-jointed exercise first. So I can always tell, for the most part, it's going to be a bullshit program when she starts out with leg extensions first, where we want to do an exercise where we can produce the most force. So I would want to see a lunge here, and then I'd want to see some type of antagonistic, so antagonist is the opposite, other muscles to allow for those muscles to rest. So just I can use this as an example. If Chelsey and I are going to go, our goal is to run as fast as we can for 100 yards. Would it be smart for Chelsey and I to run a mile right before we do that sprint? I think everyone would say that's stupid. Like, you want to conserve your energy. So that's our purpose for these first multi-jointed exercises. Now, I understand that we chase the burn and the sweat, and we want to feel tired. But Chelsey made a really great point there, talking about NEAT. And what NEAT is, as she said, is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So if she were normally to take her Orange Theory class, and she's just exhausted afterwards, she goes home and she sits on her ass and she doesn't do anything. She didn't burn many calories after that workout. Whereas before, maybe she worked out earlier, or she does a more efficient workout. Afterwards, she comes home, she's like, I'm going to clean the house. And she vacuums, and then she takes Snooky, Choco, Coco, what's his name? Chili, I was close. You take Chili out for a walk, and then you and Rio decide to do a little project, and you're more active. So in that span of 4 or 5 hours, you may have burned 300-400 extra calories. So for the person who's exhausted, are they doing those reps properly? And if you're not, that's how you can hurt yourself. And what happens when you're really, really down? Where a lot of, and it's not to get into the sexes of guys and how girls are, but if you're going to a class, which a lot of girls particularly do, what happens in the aftermath? Where are you going next? And if we go into an environment where we're isolated, it's going to be very challenging mentally for you to go, I'm not going to order in. I'm not going to drink my wine tonight. Maybe I have to go back and have do some more work. And if you're really, really stressed out and you've deprived yourself and you're super, super fatigued, your cortisol levels will be elevated. There's a greater likelihood that you're not going to be able to really stomach off the hunger that you're experiencing. And so then you're going to binge or go down that slippery slope of good and bad foods. And we're not even talking about foods right now. We're just talking about the programs. And so the first thing that we have on here is multi-jointed exercises first. And then the second thing that Chelsey said, which I thought was great, is the importance of rest. And when I see programs like this, 3 exercises in a row with 2 minutes of rest, that typically it's not even near being optimal. Now I can post some stuff in here with Dr. Schoenfeld. I had a call with him earlier today. He's one of the leading authors and professors in the world when it comes to hypertrophy, the mechanisms of growth. His group has found that 3 minutes is superior than 2 minutes, and 2 minutes is superior than 1. And those are straight sets. So what I mean by that is Chelsey and I are doing squats. I do a squat and we rest 2 minutes and we do that for 3 rounds. That's inferior in comparison to resting 3 minutes doing those straight sets. But what this lady's doing right here, she's doing 1 exercise into the next exercise, into the next exercise, and then only resting 2 minutes. That's way too much and not optimal. What else you want to add in there, Chelsey?
I think I want to also, explain to people, and we can go over this in all the different programs, to kind of get it, set in people's minds. But yeah, the order of exercise is important. The rest is very important. And then the reps is a big thing. So like I said earlier, like if a program tells you to do 10 reps, normally that means that those reps that you're doing are supposed to be challenging for the last like 2 to 3 reps. It's not just that we randomly want you to do 10 reps. So that's why in her first week, I believe it was, it had us doing 10 reps of side lunges or something, but without any weight. So it's like you could do like 30 of those if you wanted to, so that is why I look at that and I say that just doesn't make any sense, because you should have a weight in there. If it should be a different exercise altogether, but even with it being an exercise there saying that we're going for 10 reps, that means that you should be holding a weight that's very challenging to do 10 reps of that exercise. And so, and then if we wanted you to purposely do 20 reps of an exercise, that means we purposely want you to be grabbing a weight that's challenging for the 20 reps, which would obviously be less than the weight that you use for 10 reps. But I think what happens is people just see the reps and don't really think anything of it. And they just grab maybe 5 pounds for every single exercise, and like not understanding that those are supposed to hit different tiers of weight, is I think something that people just don't understand as well.
And so to piggyback off of that, I would like to see a variety of reps. I can always tell if we try to gear towards a sex, like guys should be lifting 6 to 8 reps and girls should be lifting 10 plus reps. The goal is to optimize the mechanisms of hypertrophy. So I will go as far, now I'm a lot more stubborn than Chelsey, but I will say if I see consistently the same rep range, that person doesn't know what they're talking about. So you see how we're always doing 10 reps, we're always doing 10 throughout the whole entire thing. I would want to see a variety where the first couple exercises, they should be the heaviest, so the reps should be the lowest. And then as you go throughout the workout, you can go into more reps and a lighter load. And that's something that we will do. So far we have 4 things I want to address. We got the multi-jointed first, the rest, how many reps, and a variety, which Chelsey, which was a great one. But then you also mentioned earlier, not on this call, but when we were chatting before, is how many exercises. And so if you see a ton of exercise, that's usually a red flag to me that they don't know what the fuck they're doing, because they're trying to entertain the client. Let's have fun by doing all these exercises. So let's take a step back and ask the bigger question, the why. Would you rather have fun when you work out, or would you rather look amazing naked? And I think we can kind of bridge the gap. And yeah, you can have fun, but we don't need to be doing that many exercises. So what
Well,
I would like to do, go ahead, go ahead.
especially with one muscle group, I think is like the
Yeah.
key there. It's like you can have 9 exercises, but you don't want 9 lower body exercises is the thing. And that's where I think people like just will read this and be like, oh yeah, leg day, not even quad and inner thigh day. And it's just like, oh
Yeah.
no.
So just for everyone that's listening, I want to end off on how we can make it better. So if you're looking at this program, you can start thinking and go, okay, well, great, you just made fun of this workout. You said it sucks, but I bought this and I'm screwed. So use your own brain. And so looking at this, what I'd like to see is we don't want to do the body weight one first. Let's move that out or into another circuit. And let's do the exercise where we're going to optimize force. And for this example that she has right here, it'd probably be your deadlift because of the weight with 40 pounds. So that's a glute hamstring exercise. Now, option A would be to rest for 2 or 3 minutes after that one set. But if you're a cardio bunny and you want to jump around, we should do an exercise that's not going to fatigue out that muscle to allow it to rest. So for example, doing an upper body push or an upper body pull, or I don't want to bulk up. You can isolate an upper body movement or do some ab exercises that are not going to take away from you getting the most bang for your buck for that main movement. Mm-hmm. And so you want to give us another example of something they could do, Chelsey?
Yeah, so like putting the kettlebell deadlift first would be ideal, and then following it up, like you said, with like some kind of upper body exercise. So you could do your push-ups or bicep curls if you want, or something upper body. And then if we had to go into another exercise from this lift after that, I would say to just go into probably the dumbbell walking lunges, because you're still using 40 pounds there. And now you're getting into, yeah, so you're right. I didn't even notice that either. So she does have kettlebell deadlifts in there, which is a glute and hamstring day, but this is supposed to be quad day. But anyway, then we could go into the dumbbell walking lunges, which would hit the quads, which we haven't tackled yet. And then you could follow that up with a second upper body exercise. And then I'd say after that, you could go into whatever is going to be the next big leg exercise that requires either the most force or that we haven't done yet. I'm looking at just whatever else she has with weights. There's the kettlebell goblet squat, and then, or the leg press, depending on how much weight they're doing. But I'd say for those. And then you could finish that off with like 2 of the banded exercises that she has with more reps.
I like that. So now we've taken your program. Again, just when people say quads, this is legs. So again, that's where my anatomy brain goes, is they don't know what the fuck they're talking about when they throw in the word quad and you're doing things that are really hitting your glutes and your hamstrings. And so it's just sexy terms like inner thigh. But again, that's a red flag to me, that if you use that vocabulary, it's like, imagine going to the doctor and the doctor calls the stethoscope the heary thingy. What did you just say, doc? Oh, the heary thingy. Like that's the thing, you heary thingy out of it. Like, oh, that's, it kind of freak you out a little bit, because that's not what it's called. Your blood pressure cuff. If they called it the pumper upper, you'd be like, oh, it's kind of a little concerned. It's not the right vernacular. So in my mind, when I see this, it's going to be more squat dominant. You're going to be working your quads a lot more. But here, this is a hinge posterior day. So anyways, not to get too technical, but you can send that to us if you have questions. Like, what do you think about this program? We can give you that 2 cents. But what we've provided now is you could almost do a circuit of 2. First circuit, you're going to do your deadlift into a push-up, into your lunge, into a pull. You then rest 3 minutes and then do that for 3 or 4 rounds. Then you go to the next circuit and you're going to do your goblet into your bicep curl, into your leg press, into your fire hydrant. And that's going to isolate your glutes. You rest 3 to 4 minutes, and then you go and do that for 3 or 4 rounds. Get your phone out, go on Tinder, whatever. Use time and just relax. Don't push through it and try to get into it because you want to sweat more. If you are obsessed with that, the second circuit will be the time to do this. So here, make sure you're resting a minimum of 3 minutes. If you wanted to down here in the second circuit, you could shorten the rest period a little bit, and that would be okay for those that want to get more of that cardio / effect. So you could do your goblet squat into a bicep curl, into your leg press, into your fire hydrants, into a minute of jumping jacks or a minute of jump rope, or go run on the treadmill, rest 30 seconds, and then go again. But now we have order to the program. Optimize tension and exercises first. And then when you get into the back half of the workout, you can kind of chase that burn, what they call the metabolic stress. All right, so I think this is a great little start. Chelsey, how can people find you on the World Wide Web?
Yeah, no, this was fun. I'm excited to look at some more. You guys can find me on Instagram at Chelsey Rose Health. And I have all sorts of different things on there as far as programming and just kind of chatting with you guys if you have any questions. And then you can check out my website, chelseyroshealth.com too.
Great. So